If she is stuck in her biases and refuses to recognize it, she's very stupid. And same with you too, by the way. Though it's not transactional and it's starts off good. She wants to have tons of sex with you. She's super excited. She's a positive confirmation bias. Okay. Well, some other things may happen later. Okay. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to do some beta things. You're going to do a little beta things. It's going to happen. You're going to have a beta thing you do here and there. All right. It's going to shit test you. You're going to fail those. You'll pass some, you'll fail some. You're going to be, an asshole sometimes. All right. You're going to be like trying to be, you're almost too alpha now. You were beta yesterday. Now you're too alpha. All right. And now she sees you as a prick. And she's got too much anxiety and tension about being able to keep going with you with that. And so on and so forth. And then there's little annoyances. Maybe you're a little messy. Maybe you don't put something away that you should, Maybe you're not as conscientious at certain times that you should be. And you're going to notice her stuff too, but that's another thing. And so what happens? These things start adding up. And as they add up, well, we have something called the Ziegarnik effect. Ziegarnik effect. And what that effect is that people remember incomplete tasks. They tend to remember the things that aren't complete or unfinished over the complete ones. It's another sort of bias, right? And this is where guys with the perfectionist dilemma, which I've been guilty of this myself, is you accomplish so much, you do so much, but you end up focusing on the things that you've left undone. That's what is in your mind in the forefront is the things you missed, the things you haven't done yet. It's here you are, you've accomplished all these other things, right? You're being too hard on yourself, maybe. But that's that effect. And so that effect comes in the relationship. So let's say there's an issue, something that bothers her, and it's not really resolved, maybe. And that unresolved issue then weighs on her mind because she ignores all of the things that you are to her that nobody else has ever been. She ignores how you are with her when you guys are just being together. And she's focused on an issue. And that makes her be in a bad emotional state. Maybe she focuses on a thing you've done or not done, a promise. Oh yeah, I'll take care of that, honey. And then you don't take care of it. Happens to the best of us. We have good intentions, and sometimes we fall short of those things. We do it to ourselves. Why wouldn't we do it to our partner? Yet the Ziegarnik effect takes effect, and what happens is she focuses on the things you didn't do, and she doesn't appreciate the things you did do. And then let's say you do something, or there's an actual offense, or maybe it's just a series of things that aren't real offenses, but just her perceptions. And now she's in a negative confirmation bias. And then it doesn't matter what you do at that point, does it? Everything you do is seen through a negative bias. Things you do right are ignored. Things that you do right are twisted in her mind to be seen as wrong. Things that you do wrong are magnified. Things that you do that are neutral, those are seen as wrong too. Most things are neutral, right? They're not necessarily right or wrong. And so this continues until finally she can't take it anymore. And she looks at you in disgust because she's emotional and she's in the moment. So this guy that you once were to her, everything you were to her, okay? Apex guy that she saw this massive future with, she now looks at you with disgust. And it's called negative confirmation bias. There's nothing you can do, right? And it seems very reasonable to her for her to think this way because, maybe you did something wrong. And that means that her thoughts here, they're definitely correct. And then you say find yourself getting caught up in trying to correct this bias. This is where guys will get caught up in trying to explain things or trying to get her to see you in a different way, because it's not logical, is it? And this is where y'all make the mistake. All right. So she breaks up with you. That's what happens. Okay. All right. Why didn't she stay with you and work through the relationship? Why did she run off and do that? Well, we know the answers of she thought there's a better deal out there. But it's her emotions and her negative bias as it pertains to the topic. Because there's a lot of reasons why she might do that. But as it pertains to the topic, she had a negative bias. And you're not, hopefully you're better and you're always getting better year after year, month after month. But what would have been the difference between her staying with you and letting you get better and not destroying her chances? Right? Because obviously when she's reaching out later, she is maybe thinking, I don't know if that was the best choice, maybe. Starting to question her decision there. When we have something called what's called fading effect bias, which is the effects of the past, the negative effects start to go away and you start to remember the positive. So it puts you back in a positive confirmation bias. So she painted you as the villain in her story, as the devil. And there's nothing you could do that was right. And then what happens? She reaches back out because now she's back into a positive confirmation bias. She may have had to bang a few losers to get there, have a few things happen. But now she's back and she says, man, I'm here now. Hey. But here's the problem with women that do this. It's a problem with you guys too, by the way. If you get caught up in this, anyone can do this, but women tend to do this more because they're more emotional and they want to stomp up and down like children and say, I'm logical, I'm smart. And they may be very smart. You may have a very smart woman, but if she is stuck in her biases and refuses to recognize it, she's very stupid. And same with you too, by the way. And we see it all the time in what kinds of discussions, political ones, religious ones, things where somebody's identities and fears get affected. Their emotions are affected. It stimulates anxiety. It comes into their safe world theory, maybe violates their safe world theory. Safe world theory being the ideas that they have to cling to so that they can safely operate in the world. When those things are violated on an emotional level, what happens? They dig their heels in to their bias, whether it's positive, negative, or whatever. They dig their heels into their ideas, even when you present them with evidence to the contrary. This is why you guys can't have, you can't engage in healthy political discussions with most people on the internet. Why? Because you present some evidence instead of, looking at that evidence and having a reasonable discussion with you, they dig heels in and they often will resort to personal attacks and it often gets very emotional. Well, this is exactly what your woman will do to you in a relationship. Okay. If you let it happen, this is what will happen. And the problem where women really screw themselves, and where guys screw themselves too, is that guys screw themselves because you're trying to be objective and you're not recognizing that there's an emotional component and that these biases exist. Okay. So that's a big way that guys screw themselves. You're thinking of you. You're not thinking of her. You're thinking of the truth. And let me be objective here. Let me tell you how what you're saying is not true. And you try it. It's always good to try anyway, just to reconfirm that she's not going to listen to you because she's in a negative bias. But it's worth a try. You can say, hey, I attempted it, right? And this is why when you follow my videos I've done on arguing, okay, there's cycles of an argument. And what you're doing is you're taking yourself out of a conversation until she becomes more emotionally stable and less negative confirmation bias in order to be able to have a conversation with you. All right. You may be wrong, let's say. That doesn't mean that, and she may be wrong. Whatever. Maybe you're both wrong. Usually there's a component of both in every conflict. But you can't have that conversation with somebody who is deep into their negative confirmation bias, because then you're just going to have the blame shifted to you. No personal responsibility will happen for them. And you're screwed, right? You're screwed. There's nowhere you can go other than allow yourself to be devalued.